What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Godzilla. As you can tell from the thumbnail and the title of this video, I have TravTries and the Big Rob Theory here in this video with me. Two great friends, two great YouTube channels that I highly suggest. Their links are in the description box down below, and I wanted to add them in here because I know they're big fans of kaiju films, specifically TravTries. He is huge on kaiju films, Godzilla, that's really his realm. We're both huge Star Wars fans, but you know, we kind of talk about the fact that I'm the Star Wars guy and he's the Godzilla guy. The way I know Star Wars is the way that man knows Godzilla. We were having like a mini trivia texting challenge the other day, and it was really cool to just see his knowledge and his passion for the series. And yeah, Robert is a huge fan of this stuff too. Robert and I grew up watching a lot of movies like this together, so I was really happy to have the two of them here together in this video. So we'll hear from the two of them in a little bit, but yeah, let's talk about this movie. So this will be a review for the 2014 American Godzilla film that was the beginning of this monster verse that we got going on right now. You had this film, Godzilla 2014, you had Kong Skull Island, and then you had Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I already did a review for. So I thought, let me go back and do Godzilla and Kong Skull Island before we get to the rest of these MonsterVerse films. The one I think we're most excited for, which is Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong. Can't remember what they're titling it. But yeah, leading up to this movie, I was incredibly excited. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I haven't gotten around to reviewing a lot of the Godzilla films here on this channel, but growing up, I used to rent those films all the time or buy them. I used to play the video games, and I just have always loved kaiju films about big monsters destroying cities and fighting each other. They're ridiculous, they're funny, they can be a really good time, they can have really grounded stories while also just being ridiculous and being some of the most silly films of all time, and they can just be a lot of fun to watch. I love the craft of how they were made, especially back in the days when everybody was in the suits and all that kind of stuff, and it's just really crazy to see how much this genre has changed and how different it is in the different regions that make these films. So yeah, this was the first American one in many years since the one in the late 90s with Matthew Broderick, and yeah, right out of the gate, I'll go ahead and say I really enjoyed this film. Leading up to it, I was incredibly excited for it. And going back and rewatching it, though there are some negatives that I'll get into in a moment, I still really enjoy this film. I think it's a really solid Godzilla film, though there are some criticisms, like I just mentioned, that I definitely want to talk about. I think the biggest thing I can praise about this film is the casting and the character and the performance, all done around Bryan Cranston. This guy is just a phenomenal actor. I mean, at this point, if anybody has seen Breaking Bad or any of the dozens and dozens and dozens of things he's been a part of, he is such a great actor. He's super charismatic, he can be funny, he can be really lighthearted, but he can be really serious and grounded, and this is a film that definitely takes the Godzilla premise and grounds it in reality. What would the government do if there really was these different things going on that had to do with huge creatures? Would they hide it from society if they were able to contain it? And I think that's definitely something that this film touches on, is what the government will hide as far as big things like this. Of course, it's a big sci-fi, big lizard story, essentially, so there's going to be ridiculous government plots going on throughout the entire film. But yeah, I definitely think that there's some social commentary there, while also just being a really fun Godzilla film. Right out of the gate, the visuals of this film are stunning. I love the way this film is shot. The cinematography is so well done. The color palette of this film can be a little dull at times, but for the most part, it has a very unique feel and vibe within the Godzilla filmography. And I always have a really good time going back and watching this movie. The action is really cool, especially the last act of this film. I really do love all of the Godzilla stuff in this film. However, if you ever heard anything about this film, the biggest criticism that people tend to give this film is the fact that it does not have a lot of Godzilla. It doesn't have enough Godzilla, and I have to really agree with that. This film is a Godzilla film, but you don't see Godzilla fully until quite some time into the film, and when you finally get to, it's in short bursts. You might see him for a little bit, he looks like he's about to start destroying things, and then it cuts away back to the human characters, and I think that was definitely a big flaw, and I think, you know, they definitely made up for it with King of the Monsters, where there's just almost too many monsters and too little of a story around it. But yeah, when it comes to this one, I feel like it has a strong, or at least compelling, human story in the midst of this whole Godzilla crisis. I just wish that Godzilla and the monsters would have had a bigger spotlight in this film, being that the film is about them. Now, before I get too much further into this video, let's go ahead and hear what TravTries had to say about this.
Really think that I necessarily had anything to prove, but I had to just, I don't know, show a side of the room that I've never really seen in videos and on my channel, and just kind of respect the Godzilla 1954 poster, which is like honestly my favorite piece in this room. Well, I gotta hand it to Kevin Conroy signed Batman poster, but you know what? That's not about this. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Trav, back again on Anthony's channel. Once again, I want to thank him so much for bringing me on to do this. I am super excited to be joining him on this kaiju adventure with him. Like, Anthony has invited me to review Godzilla 2014, 2014 film that came out 2014. And I think there was a reason behind his madness. I think he knows that I am a huge Godzilla fan, and I don't want to come on here and be like, hey, look at me, you know, or anything like that. I am a fan, but I'm not trying to show off with anything that I show you. The poster, nothing like that. I have the shirt because I literally am a Godzilla fan and have been since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Really all the background I'll give you. I don't really feel the need to have to prove it. I wish I could like have him on my shoulder like a freaking parrot. How is this working? So Godzilla 2014, what can really be said about this movie except for everyone complaining about not enough Godzilla, the characters being stale, and a bunch of other things that are really big flaws in this movie. And you know what? As a Godzilla fan, as a person that has grown up with this franchise and was like, 2014 was like probably my most hyped I've ever been for a movie besides like Avengers Endgame or something like that. I was really hyped for Endgame, but 2014 was at a time where like Amazing Spider-Man 2 was coming out, and let's just not even talk about that one. But both of those movies were coming out in the same year. That's probably one of my most hyped years for film was 2014. Me being a Godzilla fan, diehard Godzilla fan, and a Spider-Man fan, that was a really nice time. I've said it for years. I've said it for years to people all around, even people that really aren't Godzilla fans. Godzilla is a franchise for everyone. Not everyone will gravitate towards it, but you can show your kids Godzilla for like the 70s era. You could show, you know, adults the 80s era and on to the millennium era. Like all of the, you know, they've got the serious stuff, they've got the childish stuff, all kinds of different genres like action, they got sci-fi. There's even a movie that involves time travel. You're looking at it. It's just a franchise that's for everyone. And you know, to all the people that say it has this flaw, there's not enough Godzilla screen time and all this in this 2014 film, as a Godzilla fan, I will have to absolutely agree with you. They're right, there's not enough Godzilla screen time. Aaron Taylor Johnson should not have been the lead character in this movie. They made a big mistake. Spoiler alert, they made a huge mistake by killing off Bryan Cranston's character, Brody's dad, playing this character that was so good. He just like Bryan Cranston just had these like this scene where he just like broke down like, this is my life, like this is my wife we're talking about that died, and you're basically taking that, oh, you know, taking that justice away from me. I want to know more. Okay, this is actually getting really hard to move around. Yeah, the movie's got a lot of problems. Aaron Taylor Johnson should not have wound up being the main character all the way from like pretty much the beginning to the end. It should not have stayed that way, but it happened. And also one of my bigger negatives about the movie is that Bryan Cranston's character literally never got to meet Godzilla. Like, the trailers portrayed it as if Bryan Cranston was talking about Godzilla, like, you have no idea what's coming, and all these lines that were in the trailer had nothing to do with it, and it was all about the Mutos that he was kind of, like, researching for years and years, and, like, 15 years he was after these things, and it had nothing to do with Godzilla. My major positive in this movie is Godzilla himself. I really feel like they made a version of Godzilla that really is, like, as a fan, is really, like, he sticks, him and the Mutos both, them and Godzilla, stick in that category of all the different versions of Godzilla, all the Godzilla suits and designs and everything. His design, like, this is him in 2014, and this is him in 2019's King of the Monsters. And look at that dorsal fin difference. It's pretty fantastic. Even from 2014 to King of the Monsters, he went through a change, variation, a design. But, you know, with 2014, he's just, I don't know, he has this presence, and I really, really love that. And back then, whenever 2014 came out, he was, like, the tallest Godzilla yet until Shin Godzilla came out. And that last, like, 20 minutes of the movie, like, Godzilla is in the movie for around 20 minutes or something, like, that's a rough estimate, but he's in there in the entire movie for about 20 minutes, and that doesn't seem like a lot. But honestly, that final showdown, man, is just really what brings that movie home. If they didn't have that long, extended kind of big fight, the movie would have really, really fell flat for me. But I still find enjoyment out of 2014. I can put it on and still enjoy it. I would rather put on King of the Monsters because it has Ghidorah in it, and it has, like, you know, Mothra and you know, everyone else, which this is, yeah. Anyway, movie had so much hype. I remember going to the theater and just like absolutely just like basically Anthony's Star Wars kind of night whenever he sees a Star Wars movie for the first time in theaters. That's kind of what I was experiencing with this. I am a Star Wars fan as well, but Godzilla is just like this thing at my very, very core that's kind of hard to explain as to why I love it so much. But the theater experience for 2014 is probably still my favorite, actually. If I really think about it, 2014 was like the best theater, like first time seeing a movie, because I can see a movie a second time and have a better experience, but like 2014 was like people freaking out when the atomic breath was charging up for the first time. There was a guy that literally screamed, "My body is ready," right before he like just does just the face, man. It was the face. That final showdown really, really brings it home and is like one of the best really sequences in Godzilla history, period. And we can't forget about the kiss of death, shooting the atomic breath down the Muto's throat. We have never seen anything like that in any Godzilla movie. There's been some ridiculous Godzilla stuff, like him flying with his atomic breath backwards. Anyway, guys, that's just my literally general thoughts about Godzilla 2014. I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and it would take me forever to just like break. I could probably review that movie from beginning to end of why I love a lot about it and I hate a lot about it. Very kind of middle of the road movie, but as a Godzilla fan, it still satisfied me to the core. But that just depends on what you think, because I know there's a lot of people probably watching this review that don't really get Godzilla, so they're going to watch something like 2014 and be like, I could have put on Pacific Rim. Now, I will say this, I am a Godzilla fan, but Pacific Rim, the original 2014 one, is better than Godzilla 2014 by a long run as a film, but obviously I love the character Godzilla more. Thank you guys so much for watching my little segment, and I'll see you next time for some more kaiju movie action soon.
Big thanks to TravTries for being in this video. Again, you can find the link to his channel down below. I loved hearing your thoughts on this, man. But yeah, I have to agree with Trav. This is a film that has so much there for Godzilla fans. There is a lot less Godzilla than a lot of other Godzilla films, and there's definitely something that kind of leaves you desiring a lot more Godzilla-ness when you watch this movie. But there is a lot there that's just done so right that definitely takes from the original Japanese films and just the different kinds of Godzilla films and brings it to this film. I love the character design on Godzilla. People gave this film a lot of crap for Godzilla being kind of fat in this movie, but I really enjoy him. He just kind of looks bulky, he's huge, he's monstrous, and that's the way Godzilla should be. Again, all the monster stuff in this film is really well done. The cinematography is incredibly well done. I love Bryan Cranston in this film, and for the most part, I love the rest of the performances. Nobody gives a bad performance in this film. Aaron Taylor Johnson plays the main character in this film, and his wife is played by Elizabeth Olson, and I really enjoy the two of them in this film. It's really funny that they would go on to be brother and sister in the Avengers films, but yeah, I really do enjoy the cast of this film on an overall level. I enjoy the performances, I enjoy the characters, and I enjoy the story. I do wish at times that it was a little bit more sped up. It feels a little slow at times. It feels like you kind of have some moments where it's really slow to get through and you're kind of checking your watch. The film does feel a little bit longer than it really is, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of this film is just a lot of dialogue between humans that you don't really care about sometimes, and you don't really have that time with the monsters that you really want, and when it comes, it's so short-lived. Now, before I give you my final thoughts on this movie, let's go ahead and hear what the Big Rob Theory had to say about this.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, the Big Rob Theory, and today I am going to be shit, I already fucked up. And today I'm going to be reviewing for you, as part of a collaborative review, thanks to Anthony Perez, Godzilla 2014. So this movie was directed by Garett Edwards. And to be honest with you, I am a huge kaiju movie fan. Ever since I was younger, my family and I, we've watched like all the Godzilla movies, to be honest with you. It's just a couple that I've missed. Case in point, the newest one, Kings and Monsters, I haven't seen that one yet. Two people I really like, Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Olson, are both in this movie. I unfortunately was not the biggest fan of this movie, even at all. After the first act, the acting and the emotion that I felt was great. That was beautiful after the first act. And then for me, it just kind of died out when in regards to the actors. I don't know what it was for me personally. It's just I got disconnected from the human actors as the movie went on. And that doesn't usually happen to me with movies. You know, if you've seen my channel and you see my reviews, I'm typically on the more positive side of the movies, as in like I am pro that movie, unless it was something like The Last Airbender, then you got ass water and cheese on a nasty humid summer day. But that I didn't think that that would be the case with this movie, and this I am in no way comparing this movie to The Last Airbender. But what I am saying is this is a movie that I waited for and that I really wanted to go see because it was like at the top of my bucket list. And when I finally saw it, man, I was very disappointed. I really was. I know some people might be surprised to hear my opinion of this movie as not that great, but I don't know what it was. It was just like a miss for me. One of the main things for me was you don't really truly see the essence of Godzilla, which is what you came to see the movie for, until all the way at the very end. So it's that was another thing for me. I was like, okay, I get it. There needs to be a build-up. But there's a difference between a build-up and just some wacky stuff. And I think that was a little bit wacky. Maybe show a little bit more of him throughout the movie, but that was one of my biggest things. Another phenomenal actor that's in this movie is Ken Watanabe. I love this man, and anytime he comes in movies, he is just spot on with his acting, and just the fierceness that he brings to some of his roles is phenomenal. As I said before, there's actors and actresses in this movie that I really like. The cast was actually pretty damn good. Sorry, got a little blurp there with my voice. The actors and actresses they have in this movie are actually pretty good. So again, when I said that I felt disconnected, I don't know. It just, the more the movie went on, it's just the things that were happening in the movie, it kind of just pulled me out of it a little bit. I will say though, without giving away too much, when it gets to the third act, there's some things that happen that I'm a little bit more engaged, a little bit more. But for the most part, this movie had me sitting there like, man, come on. I know it's gonna happen. When's this gonna happen? Okay, I see a little buildup coming. All right, I see it. Okay, and then, oh, that was not as, entertaining as I, hoped. But okay, whatever. I'm such a huge kaiju fan, man. So it was so disappointing to me, and I hope that you can like hear my passion in this because I really went into this movie with such high hopes, and I came out very disappointed. Maybe I'll rewatch this film and have a different mindset about it. But again, as I said, I just was not feeling it, guys. I'm sorry. But don't let that deter you from seeing it if you haven't already, or don't let that sway you from your opinion, Like, hey, I would love to hear other people's opinions, and I can't wait to watch the other two guys in this video do their thing. I will say though, some positives about this movie: the CGI. Oh my god, that did something to my soul, bro. I love sci-fi and animation and special effects. Who doesn't? But there's a thing as like overkill with some CGI and animation. Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds, that god awful abomination. But if you do a lot of CGI, case in point Transformers, in a universe like that, it's perfect. It's understandable. I prefer that the movie be all CGI because it's all about the robots, not the humans. I'd probably watch it again for the visual aspect, and I'd probably watch it again because of the actors and actresses that are in it, even though the acting really sucked me out, after the third act. And visual-wise, this movie was phenomenal. Can't deny it. Cannot deny it. The fight scenes that they had, whoo, man, that had me engaged. That had me engaged. But movies aren't just about fight scenes. They're not just about special effects. They're about plot. They're about getting you emotionally engaged. They're about keeping your interest, And I couldn't do it. So thanks, guys. And away I go.
Big thanks to my boy, the Big Rob Theory. Robbie, I appreciate you for being in this video, man. I loved hearing your thoughts on it. And yeah, guys, definitely go to the links down below where you guys can find the two channels. You guys can go support the Big Rob Theory and TravTries, two great channels that have a lot to say and love this kind of stuff. So if you're into their channels and you enjoyed what you saw, definitely go give them some love. So yeah, I honestly don't have too much more to say about this film. I think this is a film that, as far as the Godzilla films go, is definitely really good. It does not have a lot of Godzilla screen time in it, and I think that's definitely where it kind of is the weakest. But for the most part, this is a beautiful film. It's really well acted. It has a compelling story and has a good human story, which I feel the sequel actually lacked, which is really interesting because you watch the sequel and it gives you all the monster action, but then you're bored by the fact that there's not much of a human story. But when you go back and watch a lot of the original Japanese films, a lot of times you don't really care about the humans or what's going on there. You really just care about the monsters. So I feel like the sequel definitely stayed a little bit more true to everything that this series has been on an overall level, whereas this one did a really good job of giving us a good human story in the midst of this madness, right? Like, what would the humans be doing in the midst of this Godzilla crisis? So I do enjoy this film for what it is. I enjoy the performances. I wish that Bryan Cranston would have been in this film a lot more. I wish while they were filming it and editing it and putting the film together, they would have realized that Bryan Cranston was kind of the key to this film. He was the heart of the film for a lot of the screen time, and I was really mainly invested in his pursuit, his drive in this film. There's definitely some really touching and emotional scenes in this film, and I love the way that this film is directed. This film is directed by Garett Edwards, who would go on to do Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which is easily one of my favorites of the newest Star Wars films. So he's just a phenomenal director. I think he does a great job of really grounding big situations and big spectacle in a really, really human way, and I really enjoy that about this film and Rogue One. But yeah, guys, I don't really have too much more to say. This film is a little slow at times. It has beautiful cinematography and some epic action. There are great performances and a story that could be a little bit slow at times, but for the most part is quite compelling when you watch it. I did care for the characters for the extent of the runtime. There's some great action in the later half of the film. I don't think it has as much Godzilla screen time as it needed, but it is a beautiful looking film with some slow elements but some great performances, and a film that I do highly recommend if you're a fan of monster films and action and all that kind of stuff. This movie definitely will feed you in that way. So yeah, guys, definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Go to the links down below. You guys can go and check out the other two channels, the other two YouTubers that were in this video. Definitely go give them some love. Leave your comments down below, guys. What did you guys think about this movie? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Did it disappoint you as a Godzilla fan to see such little screen time? I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Which one do you like more too, this one or the sequel? I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Also, one last question. Who do you think is going to win in Godzilla vs. Kong? Do you think there's even going to be a winner? I know that's a lot of questions, but answer any of them, answer all of them. Leave all those thoughts down below, and I will see each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.